He obtained his master's degree in hospital management from St. Joseph's College in California in the United States. He is the president of the Clean Air Philippines movement. He is also the former president of the Philippine Medical Association. Welcome, lawyer and orthopedic surgeon Leo Olarte. And let us begin this forum, and we start off with vaccine wastage, where we have 3.76 million doses. Health Secretary Francisco Duque had hoped that Congress can make COVID-19 vaccination mandatory. He said a number of Filipinos still refuse to get vaccinated or boosted. But some senators were quick to turn down Duque's idea, saying forcing people to get vaccinated will violate their basic rights and freedoms. The first question to our senatorial candidates: what is your stand on passing a law that would make COVID-19 vaccination mandatory? Dr. Olarte, what is your stand on making COVID-19 vaccination mandatory? The two other senatorial candidates do not agree with this. What is your view? You have 90 seconds, Dr. Olarte.
Good evening. Good evening to everybody. Well, mandatory vaccination is constitutional because the Constitution provides that the state shall promote the public welfare, and the public good. So it is constitutional, but there are guides to be observed in the imposition of mandatory vaccination. And what are the guides? There is a test that is very important, and this is the test of necessity. Is it necessary for the state or the government to impose mandatory vaccination? Will public welfare and public health be served? Are the risk equal to the mandatory vaccination that is going to be imposed by the government? Now, if the test of necessity is passed or is achieved, then it is ethical to impose mandatory vaccination.
Moving on now to another issue. The country's outstanding debt has breached the 12 trillion peso mark for the first time in Philippine history. And as of January 2022, our debt amounted to more than 12 trillion pesos after the government borrowed more money to fund the COVID-19 response. With this ballooning national debt, lawmakers have pushed for legislating a debt cap or ceiling, a similar framework in the United States, but the Finance Department has opposed this proposal. The question to our senatorial candidates: as a lawmaker, if you become one after May 9th, what other measures do you propose to raise more funds to address the country's debt? Dr. Olarte, we will start off with you now. You have 90 seconds.
Okay, now the question is, can I...
what legislation do you hope, please, or programs or initiatives, if you become a senator, to be able to reduce our 12 trillion peso debt? Or will you want to borrow money from international and local lenders?
Okay, now, of course, if I am a senator, we are going to legislate laws to reduce spending, and only spend what is necessary to improve the general welfare and the public good. Now, to improve also the collection of taxes due to the government, and also to improve productivity, reduce imports, and increase exportation, so that we can have more income and we will be able to pay the external debts, our debts, and also reduce further incurring debts from outside and from local sources. So the legislation that I am going to have, if I am senator, is of course to put only expenditures on necessary things that will improve the public good and public welfare.
Our next issue, the traffic congestion in Metro Manila is the 6th worst in Asia. That's according to the 2021 data of Amsterdam-based geolocation technology specialist TomTom International BV. Now, according to Japan International Cooperation Agency, or JICA, the traffic problem in Metro Manila will cost the country 5.4 billion pesos daily by 2035. The local automotive industry has also registered almost 270,000 vehicles sold in 2021 and more than 70,000 from January to March of this year. That's almost 340,000 more cars on the road. The question now for our candidates as future lawmakers, how could you ease the traffic congestion in the country? How could you ease, if not totally solve, the worsening traffic problem in the country? You have 1 minute and a half.
Okay. If I were in the Senate, I will make a law that will increase the public transport system, especially itong ating railroad and itong ating mga trains, no? Kailangan itong mga trains natin should be well maintained, and dapat the place to be used as itong mga railroad trains ay dadating sa ating paparoroonan. Halimbawa, ikaw ay pupunta sa airport. Kailangan ang trains natin mayroong truck na pupunta doon sa airport. O halimbawa, pupunta doon sa ating seaport, pupunta doon sa business center, para yung ating mga kababayan sasakay na lang ng train. And the train should be properly maintained. Pwede sumakay doon yung mga elitista, yung mga mayayaman, and yung mga hindi masyadong mayayaman.
Alright.
Pero
your time is up, Dr. Olarte. Thank you so much for your response. Moving on now to our next topic. In a global study assessing the proficiency of students in 58 countries, grade 4 students in the Philippines finished last both for math and science. And this was the 2019 edition of TIMSS, or Trends in Mathematics and Science Study. Before this, in the 2018 PISA, or Program for International Student Assessment, Filipino students ranked lowest as well in reading comprehension and second to the lowest in science and math. Here's the next question for the three of you. What education reform should be implemented so students can catch up in math, science, and reading? Dr. Olarte, we'll start off with you. You have 90 seconds, please. And we would like to remind all our candidates to stick to the time. Please start now.
Okay, yung educational reform, no, should be geared on increasing the capacity of our teachers, their knowledge and know-how to teach science and mathematics. Para yung ating mga teachers will be comparable to international standards. No, we have to make laws to improve the professional capacities of our teachers. O halimbawa, magtuturo ng mathematics o science, kailangan yung teacher natin mayroong at least a masteral degree so that yung pagtuturo niya will be comparable to international standards. Karamihan ng ating mga teachers sa ibang bansa have a master's degree kahit dito pa lang sa elementary. Halimbawa, mathematics, algebra, biology, physics, chemistry. Merong mga masteral degrees yan. Kailangan gagawa tayo ng batas to improve the professional capacity of the teachers so that they will be comparable to international standards in teaching our students.
You will only answer with a yes or a no. You can show your answers by raising your signed boards. No explanation is needed. Maintaining a work-life balance is encouraged to prevent an employee burnout. Now, a 2022 survey by research company Milieu reveals there is an interest from Southeast Asian employees, including workers in the Philippines, to adopt a 4-day work week. A New Zealand-based experiment revealed workers adapting the scheme became more creative and punctual and did not take long breaks. Congress has been trying to pass a law to promote an optional 4-day work week since 2017. Some say this can solve traffic congestion in Metro Manila, but workers' groups are not in favor of the proposal, saying it will just increase the number of working hours of an employee, among many other reasons. Here's a question for the three of you. Are you in favor of legislating a 4-day work week scheme? Yes or no? Candidates? Dr. Olarte, what is your response? No or yes? Yes. Dr. Olarte is a yes?
Yes.
Okay, Ms. Subiaga and Mr. Diaz are a no. So we have a split vote on this particular issue.
Magandang araw po. Ako po si Dato Agong Aljun Kayawan ng tribong Agusanon Manubo mula po dito sa Agusan del Sur. At ako po ay may katanungan po sa inyong lahat. Kapag kayo po ang nanalo bilang senador, ano po ang inyong mga plano at programa para sa aming mga katutubo? Paano niyo po poproteksyonan ang aming mga karapatan, lalong-lalo na sa aming mga lupang ninuno? Maraming salamat po.
Aljun, candidates belongs to the estimated 10 to 20% indigenous peoples in the 103 million national population, while retaining their pre-colonial cultural institutions. IPs generally live in geographically isolated areas with lack of access to social services, even with the promulgation of the 1997 Indigenous Peoples' Rights Act, or IPRA. IPs are continuously vulnerable to development aggression and land grabbing, and according to a global group defending IP rights, state institutions are weaponized to attack and red tag IP rights defenders and deny them justice. In Mindanao, the Save Our Schools network documented 32 attacks on Lumad schools, forcing the closure of 178 schools and denying 6,000 students their right to education. You have 90 seconds to answer Datu Aljun's concern on laws protecting the rights of IPs.
Okay. The Republic Act 8371, Section 56 of the Indigenous Peoples Law of 1997, particularly Section 56, is not fair. It is not fair and just to the indigenous people. Itong Section 56 provides that the property rights of non-indigenous people existing prior to 1997 shall be respected. Now, this is problematic because the indigenous people who have already stayed in their indigenous land, before 1997, can be evicted or they can be relocated. There is a present problem in the LGU na gusto nilang gawin yung indigenous land ng landfill, yung sanitary landfill. Now, kasi sabi ng LGU, they were already given a ownership and title to that land. It is within the indigenous property. Yun ay very unjust sa mga indigenous people. Dapat i-delete ito.
The Population Commission says the country may see its lowest population growth in over 7 decades as more Filipinos use contraceptives such as pills and condoms. While Popcom says a slow population growth rate is good for the country, a question from a netizen touches on the elephant in the room. We all know that the church and the state are at odds over the reproductive health bill, which guarantees free access to contraceptives before it was signed into law in 2012. So Facebook user Sally Garcia Gaetano asks, will you support or create measures promoting family planning, especially among poor families, even when the church opposes it? May we have your answer, a yes or a no? Yes for Ms. Zubiaga, A yes for Mr. Diaz, and for Dr. Olarte is a yes.
Yes.
Yes, we have a unanimous decision from all our three candidates.
Okay. Ano po sa palagay ninyo ang pangunahing batas tungkol sa public health ang dapat na bigyan ng pansin natin o ipasa?
Dr. Olarte, you have 2 minutes.
Kindly repeat po, hindi ko masyadong narinig. Ano po 'yon?
Anong batas po tungkol sa public health ang sa palagay ninyo ay kulang at dapat nating palakasin?
Okay. Ang unang public health na batas na gagawin ko kung ako po nasa Senado is the establishment of a research and development science center. Bakit po? Kasi itong ating problema ngayon, itong pandemic COVID-19 ay hindi po maganda ang initially hindi po maganda ang ating eksperyensya dito. Matagal po tayo nakakuha ng mga bakuna. Kung meron po tayong Research Science Development Center, tayo na po ang gagawa ng mga bakuna. Gagawa din tayo ng mga gamot para po sa cancer at ibang mga chronic diseases, no? Itong cancer po ay problema. Mahal po ang mga gamot diyan sa chemotherapy. So tayo po gagawa ng mga gamot diyan at mga iba pang gamot that can be preventive of a disease, no? An ounce of prevention is better than a pound of cure. Gagawa din po tayo ng mga instrumento that can diagnose early, detect early diseases before it actually infects or it actually affects the individual. Ngayon, tayo na po ang mag-i-export ng mga bakuna. Itong mga gamot for cancer, tayo po mag-i-export. Hindi na po kailangan na bibili tayo, and we can save a lot of our money, and we can also earn as income for the government to pay our national debt. Yun po ang unang batas na gagawin ko po. Pangalawa po is for education. Kailangan po mabigyan natin ng almusal o pagkain itong mga mahihirap nating mga kabataan sa kanayunan. Hindi po sila nakapasok sa eskwelahan dahil gutom po sila. We can give them free breakfast. And then also to protect our environment, no? Magtanong po tayo ng mga langka, abukado. Okay. Ang priority legislation ko ay sinabi ko na kanina, yung Research and Development Science Center para tayo maka-manufacture ng sariling bakuna natin para magagamit natin po sa pagsukpo ng mga pandemic o mga COVID o ano pa mga viral and infectious diseases in the future. And then, yun din ay also for cancer, no? Cancer medicines para hindi na po tayo mag-i-import. Number 2 is bibigyan po natin ng libreng almusal ang mga kabataan sa kanayunan. Kasi po, hindi po sila nakakakain ng almusal, nahirapan po sila pumasok sa school, especially yung mga grade 1 to grade 6 students, no? Number 3 is ito pong ating greening of the environment, no? Greening, pagtanim po tayo ng mga trees, itong langka, avocado at cacao at mga bamboos in order to improve the air cleanliness or to reduce air pollution in our environment and also global warming. Number 4 is to promote tourism para po magkakaroon ng maraming trabaho, magkakaroon po ng income ang ating kanayunan. And number 5 also po is to increase the salaries of the government frontliners, especially yung mga barangay health workers po. Yun po ang 5 important legislative measures, laws that I am going to legislate in the Senate.